Good evening, boys and ghouls. You have tuned into the Killer Countdown, brought to you by Backlot 605. Each week, two horror fanatics rank the best that the horror genre has to offer. Grab your popcorn and your kitchen knife and get ready for the Killer Countdown.
Welcome to the Killer Countdown. I am your host for today's Ghoultivities. My name is Blake Ginnethan, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, the Joker to the Batman, the final girl to my Jason, the incomparable Casey Kelderman. Casey,
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm the final girl to your Jason.
Yeah.
I am the Heather Langenkamp to your Freddy Krueger.
Which means I die, I guess.
Yeah,
Fuck. Okay. Are you ready for today's show?
I am so ready for today's show.
Because there's a lot on the line. Not just your,
Street cred.
not just your street cred, your marriage is on the line.
Yes, this is true. This is the highest staked episode we have ever done.
Because today you're going up against your future wife, Kayla. Kayla, how are you?
Oh, just peachy.
All right. Okay. We have a big show. We have one of the, how do I say this? Like one of the more fascinating directors that Hollywood's ever had. Tim Burton. We're going to rank Tim Burton movies today.
Timothy Burton.
Tim Burton. But first, Casey.
Yes.
What have you watched recently?
What I watched recently, besides every Tim Burton movie that I had not seen before.
Which was all of them?
I had only seen half of them at this point.
Wow. Which two had you seen?
Two?
Prior to us deciding to doing this.
What?
Which two?
What do you mean, which two?
Which two had you seen?
I've seen like half of his filmography.
Oh,
not
I must have misheard you.
No. No, I was halfway through watching his entire.
Oh, okay, all right. Did you enjoy the going through his the rest of his filmography?
Yeah, and I did this a little different than I've done like previous, like when we did the Universal Monsters, where I just binged them all, which was fun, but it takes a lot out of you. It's like running a marathon.
It is.
This time I would watch a few at a time, and then I'd mix in other movies in between.
Yeah.
And some of those other movies, the first one I want to talk about, and we've kind of been on a kick here and there with talking Fulci movies here. This is House by the Cemetery. So this is the second in his Gateway to Hell trilogy.
What's the third?
City of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay. I've seen that one.
That's the one I have not seen, so I need to watch that one yet. The Beyond is the other one, a part of it. So House by the Cemetery, again in true Fulci fashion. Not a whole lot of plot, a lot of gore. Not as much as The Beyond, but there's some good stuff in there. It's literally what you think this movie is. This family moves into this house right next to a cemetery, and creepy stuff starts happening. And again, like I said, with The Beyond is definitely the more gory between all those. But I think there is some good suspense in this movie. There's a child involved. There's a pretty good sequence towards the end of the film that takes place in a basement where this thing is after the husband, the wife, and the child. Minor spoilers. It comes down to just the child versus this zombie living dead creature. So it does create some suspense and trying to get this child away from the house. But I think it's kind of what I've seen of Fulci. It's probably my least favorite of what I've seen so far. Mm-hmm. So I won't rush out to watch it, but it's still a relatively enjoyable watch as far as Fulci films go.
Cool. Yeah, I that's one of those movies I think I've seen, but I'm not 100% sure because it was back before I could keep a diary, like an online diary of what
Mhm.
I've seen. So I think I've seen it, but I'm not 100. It's probably one of those movies I'll start it and like within 5 minutes I'll be like, oh, yep, I've seen this.
Yeah.
But I know I've seen City of the Dead, and I've obviously seen The Beyond. We both gushed about that a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But very cool. Have you watched anything else?
I have, yeah, I've got quite a few here.
If you just want to speed round it, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So let's go to. I watched for the first time Last House on the Left, the Wes Craven original film. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a terrible movie. But there's no denying the influence that it does have on the genre of horror going forward in the next decade after this, because this was what mid 70s when
Yeah, I think it was like
Last House on the Left?
73 or 75 or something
Yeah.
around there.
And again, it's Wes Craven written, directed, produced by Sean Cunningham, and assistant director is Steve Miner. So all people that would go on to
Yeah.
bigger and better things. So the creator of Freddy and the creator of Jason, both making a movie before. Those were probably a glimmer in their eyes. Yeah, again, this is everybody probably knows the plot, or if you know the film, you know what it's about. It's about these two girls that get picked up by this group of escaped convicts and rapists, and yeah, that's what happens. That they get taken to the woods and get taken advantage of, and then one of the girls' parents enacts revenge on these hooligans. Yeah, this is not a very good movie. It's poorly shot, poorly edited, poor sound design. But again, they probably made it for very, very cheap. Again, it shows promise of where this group of guys that were behind the film could go. And again, I think the biggest thing that still probably sticks out in people's minds for this movie is the marketing for it.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up.
Because it still has one of my favorite taglines ever. Just keep repeating to yourself, it's only a movie. It's only a movie.
Mm-hmm.
That alone is better than the movie. And again, I think that's part of the reason why it still sticks around and is talked about so much.
Yeah, I think it's sort of also sticks around because Wes Craven's name is behind it too.
Yeah.
People see it as like the...
And I've heard so many times, this movie's so disturbing and grotesque, and I can't believe it. I'm like, it doesn't show anything. There's not a whole lot in this. Like,
yeah, but you also have to look at the time. You know, back then it was probably pretty transgressive. I mean, I don't like the movie. I think it's well made for what it is, but it's So I think it's very good at being disgusting, if that makes any sense.
So there's a couple other ones quickly here. Thomas was one I watched recently for the first time. Kayla, I know, is a fan of this movie. Man, Anton Yelchin is just, he was one of the best that we had in that era that he was acting in, and gone way too soon.
He's a babe.
He is a babe. He definitely is a babe. Yeah, so Odd Thomas, again, kind of a movie that's flown under the radar in the last few years. And yeah, this is basically about this I don't know, I guess post-college is probably roughly his age in this movie, but basically he's a secret part of the police force that can see hidden ghosts and demons, and he eventually comes across these demons that if you make eye contact and they notice that you're watching them, they'll kill you. So it's a fun concept. And yeah, Anton Yelchin's really good in this movie. It has a lot of heart behind it, and again, I think more than anything, it is a supernatural kind of fun, action-y type of movie, but at its heart, it's a relationship movie, and it works really well with that. Willem Dafoe is in a smaller role in this movie, and I think really good in that movie for the small stuff, because he gets to be, usually Dafoe is pretty much, he's either the bad guy or he's the police detective, and in this case, he is the police detective, but he's also very funny in this movie. Like, he gets called in the middle of the night while him and his wife are trying to do the hanky-panky, and gets mad at Odd for calling him in the middle of the night while they're trying to do the dirty.
Does he have any excessive farting in the movie?
Not in this one. That you'll have to go watch this black and white movie called The Lighthouse for Defoe farts.
Okay.
What?
Don't watch that movie.
The Lighthouse?
Don't watch that movie.
What?
It's the
Yeah,
weirdest porno
I
I've ever seen.
I have to agree with Casey on this one. I can't believe I'm hearing this right now on
Yeah.
my show of anything.
No.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, Casey?
I watched the Grudge 2020. That was a movie.
It exists.
It exists. Yeah, this is from the director. I would have to pull up his name. From The Eyes of My Mother is what his first feature was, and then Piercing, and then this.
Piercing's good. You should check out Piercing.
I haven't watched that one yet, but I did like The Eyes of My Mother. This one was just so bland and boring.
Haka poop.
But I can't even call it a haka poop, whatever that is.
Haka poop.
Because it's not that it's bad. It's just so uninspired.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah, I'd rather watch a bad movie than a boring one.
Yes.
That's my motto.
Yes. This is like a recent horror movie that I can think of that is I would like. That's bad, but I'd probably watch it again over The Grudge. Like The Bye-Bye Man is a bad movie.
I think The Bye-Bye Man's fun, personally.
Oh, that movie sucks, but I'd watch it again over The Grudge.
Blake and I actually agree.
What?
You should check out Casey. You should check out Piercing. I'm pretty sure the opening credits are over the Tenebrae theme.
Oh, I've looked it up. Yeah, he uses a couple of those Argento themes. Yeah.
All right, Casey. I'm done with your watches. Oh, okay.
I got one more. Sorry. One more. The Poughkeepsie tapes is what I watched recently.
Oh, I've heard things about this.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it was popping up. Like I had at least 2 YouTube videos pop up on my subscription feed, and Jameson brought it up on his Instagram. And I saw other people talking about it online. I don't know why all of a sudden it's been popping up, because it's not like an anniversary for it or anything. But so this is basically this police department finds hundreds of unmarked videotapes that belong to this serial killer, and they showcase his heinous crimes that he commits. So it's it's like a talking head found footage mockumentary style film. But yeah, again, if you have to be into that formula for it to work for you, because the acting it's acting. You can tell it's not a documentary. You can tell people are acting in the movie. But the videotapes themselves are really, I don't want to say well done, because they do look like actual videotapes that a serial killer would have shot.
Mm-hmm.
They're scary stuff. Like there's one point you walked in on this where he's like crawling upside down with a plague mask on.
No, he was.
Or which mask? He has a bunch of masks.
And had a mask on the back of his head.
Oh yeah.
And then he had another mask in the front.
Yeah.
So he had 2 faces.
Yeah.
You saw the one because he was looking down, so it was creepy.
Yeah.
So, I remember the trailers back in the day that came out. They were just short, like 30-second teasers of like each victim. And I thought that was a really interesting way of selling the movie.
Yeah, and again, there's no real conclusion to it. It's very much in case of a documentary, there's probably never a real conclusion if you're talking about someone that's never been caught.
Sure.
So it presents itself in that way. So I'd give it a recommend if you have to be into that style of filmmaking and being able to watch that. From the director of As Above, So Below.
Oh,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
Did you?
I did not the first time, but in subsequent watches, it's grown on me a little more.
Attaboy.
But yeah, that was the last horror thing that I watched.
Very,
Poughkeepsie
very
tapes.
cool.
What about you?
Kayla, have you watched anything horror related that's not Tim Burton recently?
She watched 2 of these with me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you have any opinion on them?
And then
either?
we watched the one foreign film. I don't know what it was called because I came in like not halfway through, a little bit before.
Mother?
Was it Mother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh, okay.
And we talked about that on our Bong Joon-ho
We did,
episode.
yes.
Crazy.
For a second, I thought it was the Aronofsky Mother.
Yeah.
But
no.
yeah.
Kayla likes that one too.
I do, but I won't watch it again.
You made the mistake of showing a pregnant friend, Mother.
I want to watch the movie again, obviously, but now I I don't know if I can stomach certain parts of it. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Maybe later.
I didn't watch much over the past couple of weeks. I did, however, watch about 4 hours of the Creep Show TV show that Shudder has up. I was expecting this to be utter trash, and boy, I loved just about every single episode, every single short that I watched. Very imaginative, all very interesting and unique shorts. The House in the Head is a very, very, like, this is why I love this show, is because I've said to you, Casey, in the past that, like, a lot of horror movies, they kind of run out of steam about 45 minutes into their runtime, and they kind of have to, like, fake it till the end. But by making these shorts 20 to 30 minutes long, they're able to, keep up the intensity and keep the story moving. And the House the House of the Head is the perfect example of why this works. Gets everything done it needs to. It holds its intensity the entire time. I loved the wolves with the Nazis. Man, that's such a fun little short. The DJ Qualls episode where he finds the finger and it grows into this monster that he feeds. I just loved everything that I saw. There was one that I didn't like with the kids who go trick-or-treating, but it wasn't bad. And it kind of just adds to the whole mythos of the series. But I can't recommend this series enough. I really, really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to finish it. I only have about 4 shorts left.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the show again, but with like any other segmented show, there's always going to be some that are better than others. And again, that's a case where I liked the Halloween episode.
Yeah.
And
it just felt very telegraphed. That's all.
Yeah, a little bit. But again, I think House of the Head is not. I mean, I think that's probably my favorite segment of the entire series. It's just so streamlined, and it's actually really scary, and it does so much with so little. It's literally this little girl playing in a dollhouse.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it's incredibly scary. Like, you're sort of invested in these dolls in this house. Like, you somehow find yourself frightened for this family dealing with this head that's ruining everything. I want to give a shout out also to the Scarecrow short that I really enjoyed that one too. Yeah.
Who did the House of the Head one? That's what I'm trying to. Josh Mallerman, who wrote Bird Box.
Oh, which sucked.
Yeah, so this is a step up for him.
Yeah, very cool. I see they're making a season 2, so I'm looking forward to that one as well.
But that's been slowed down by.
Oh man,
by the Rona.
Just went out.
What?
Yeah, my internet just went out.
Oh.
So yeah.
Is that all you've watched?
Yes. So
okay.
My internet is out, so you guys can just say your picks, and we'll just do it that way. But I am ready to get this game going if you guys are.
I'm ready.
All right. So we are playing the Killer Countdown, the top 8 Tim Burton movies. I am so excited to see what you guys pick, because I have a clear top 2 or 3 favorites, and I'm just letting you know right now, our friendship rides on these top 2 or 3 being in the top 2 or 3. You're both gonna have 4 picks. I think we decided pregame that Kayla, you're going first.
Yeah.
All right, so you'll have all the even numbers: 8, 6, 4, and 2. Casey, you will have spots 7, 5, 3, and 1, which means you get the number 1 pick. So there's a lot riding on you, my friend.
Scary.
Each of you will get 1 stab in this game. So if one of you plays a movie in a certain spot and you don't like the movie at all, or you want it higher, you can stab it off the list. It is not out of the game entirely. It can be played again. Is there anything I'm missing with this?
I think you have got it all.
I think we're good.
We're good to go.
Kayla, whenever you're ready, you can just go ahead and give us your first pick.
Okay.
Be dramatic. I'm scared.
Honestly, I have so much anxiety right now.
I'll be honest. I'm super afraid of what all these picks are going to be.
I was excited when Kayla said, "Oh, you can just have the number 1," and then I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll have the number 1." And I'm like, oh, that means Kayla has the number 8. And I'm like, what is she going to play there? Because that's going to be a tone setter for the rest of the list.
And that's where I'm having problems with, because I don't know what to put. Because I don't know.
It's up to you. All
I
up to
know.
you.
Boom, 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 boom.
Okay,
boom,
I'm just gonna put
boom,
Edward
boom, boom.
Scissorhands as my number 8.
Edward, and the number 8 spot, Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
So why Edward Scissorhands?
I chose it as 8 just because I do enjoy the movie, but I don't think it's the greatest.
It's certainly one of his most famous movies.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those that's kind of overplayed. Like it's
Okay.
redundant, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, it also features some of the most iconic images from Burton's work. I think some of the most recognizable images. I like obviously Johnny Depp with the scissor hands.
It combines Burton's 2 favorite things: 50s suburbia and
yes,
Gothic imagery.
Yeah,
Perfection.
the hedges that he creates is another one that I think about when I think about this movie.
So what's Edward Scissorhands about?
Edward Scissorhands is about a creator who passes away and has left one of his creations who is alive. And it's kind of his life growing up in the suburbs with like a normal family who encounters a few uncomfortable situations with some of the ladies in the neighborhood.
Yeah, all the housewives want to bang Edward.
Yeah, for some reason. Maybe it's the scissors.
I don't know.
It's totally the rusty scissors.
Who's all in this movie? Like Diane Wiest, right? She's in it.
As Johnny Depp, Winona Ryder, Anthony Michael Hall is the bully against Edward, going
nice
nerdy 80s characters from that to this is always fun to see.
Vincent Price.
Vincent Price is the creator.
Nice. Yeah, I remember him being like the big get that Burton was able to somehow wrangle into this movie.
And again, when I think we'll talk about it with a different movie on this list, Burton's relationship with Vincent Price, and again that was like that was his hero. One of the movies he made, one of the first animations he made was called Vincent, based off Vincent Price. Alan Arkin plays the dad, and he's so fun in this movie because he doesn't care that Edward is a weirdo that has scissors for hands. He's like, Ed, you need to have a savings account. You should start a business, Ed. You need to start charging. Like, he's just a dad.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't care that this weirdo has scissors for hands and is living in his house.
Yeah.
He's just like, you need to go open a banking account.
This really feels like, and I haven't seen it. I don't think I've ever even seen this movie before. I think I've seen just some parts of it, but it really feels like this is the movie like Burton was making about just the idea of like someone who comes into your life that is probably just different than you, and there's the people who are going to accept him or accept people for who they are, and there's the people who are just going to be afraid of him, and I guess there's people who are going to want to bang him too.
Yeah. And again, I think we'll bring that up. Burton has a weird thing with how he presents like sexual situations. Like, this is probably his most sexual movie. But it's also super weird. Like, he doesn't understand how it works.
It's softcore.
Like, it's not softcore.
Like Burton doesn't
know what that is.
Burton doesn't know?
I don't think Burton understands how sex works. But he's had
but he has kids before. Oh, he has kids. Okay.
He does have kids.
We can confirm that he's had sex then. Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was gonna say, what
weirdo.
about test tube?
Yeah, he probably
Could
would have
be.
created them like a monster
In a lab.
in a lab with Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
Vincent Price is the inventor.
Yeah. Funnily enough, this is my number 8, Edward Scissorhands.
Oh.
Yeah. So in watching all of these, I have 12 written down where I'm like, these are kind of the 12. If we play them, those are probably the ones in our list here that would be all right.
I should have prefaced this list that it's not just horror movies that count for this.
Every Burton movie is on the table.
It's all Tim Burton movies count for this.
Yes.
So we're good with this then, huh?
I'm good with this. I think
All
this
right.
might be the most Tim Burton movie. I think it's definitely up there. Most because it literally feels like Tim Burton in his filmography. He's always thought of himself as a big idea guy. He was an animator first and foremost.
Mhm.
The entire movie is just Tim Burton drawings put into live action. Like Edward
Yeah.
Scissorhands was a drawing that he came up with, and then he gave it to someone else and said, "Hey, make this happen live action, and we'll make a movie."
D-
out of it."
Does Tim and I'm not well versed in Tim Burton movies, obviously. So, like, does he write a lot of his own movies, or does he take scripts and make them his own, or what? How does he? What's he known for?
One of my favorite things doing this is I've gone behind the scenes on Burton stuff. He has said he wouldn't know a good script if it hit him in the face. So no, he does not write his own stuff, but he does create many of the stories and character looks and appearances. Edward being maybe his most notable one.
Yeah, I would say so. Yep.
Yeah.
He's relatable to people as like the oddball.
Yep. And one of the plethora of Johnny Depp movies where he is covered in makeup.
Yes, but he's good in this one.
And I don't have to see his unnatural teeth.
Does he ever say a word in the movie?
Yeah.
He does. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And again, it's not Burton playing a weirdo. Like, hey, look, I'm a weirdo.
Mm-mm.
Like he does in other.
You mean Depp?
Depp. I'm a weirdo, but like he does in later movies that we will not talk about on this list.
Right.
But in this one, he's very subdued. Like he's actually playing a character this time. It's not like, look at me, I'm Johnny Depp. I'm crazy.
You
I don't think
shine
Johnny
quiet.
Depp was I don't think Johnny Depp was Johnny Depp back then either.
No.
You know, like I think once he hit like, you know,
And this was their first collab.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Like once he hit Pirates of the Caribbean,
Yeah.
that's where he just phoned everything in afterwards. That he was just like, yeah, put an eye patch over me. I'm just gonna like, you know, do the motions. So
Put a pound of makeup on my face.
Yeah. I will say I hope a Johnny Depp movie and Tim Burton collab comes back again later on this list. I hope.
We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. Casey, are you ready with number 7?
No.
Really?
But I will be. This
I don't
is
think
where
I've ever seen so much deliberation on this show.
this is where I'm running into a situation where I'm like, there's Tim Burton has only ever done one series, and I'm debating if I want 2 picks of that series on this list.
I
Yeah.
see.
But I think we'll decide that later. I'm gonna go number 7 with my favorite of the Tim Burton stop motion films, even the ones that he has produced. This is number 7, Corpse Bride.
Stab.
Okay.
All right, we will save it.
That was super quick.
We will save
I
it.
knew
We're
you
not
were
even-
gonna say it.
We're not even going to give
All
Casey
right.
time
All
to defend his choice. Okay. Kayla's stab is gone from the game.
I knew you were gonna say it.
All right.
I'm glad that we are metaphorically stabbing people and not actually doing it.
We should
Can't
have
see
gotten
his
we should have gotten fake scissors for this.
That was very quick. Casey,
Okay.
does this
All
make your decision easier for number 7?
a little bit.
You knew you should have left that.
Okay, so okay, okay. I think I got my next one then. For number 7, then I'm gonna go with Tim Burton's Big Fish at number 7. So Tim Burton's
Okay.
Big Fish, yeah. This is where it gets tough because Edward Scissorhands I do really like a lot. I think everything else that I would play here, I would put in the love category. I love Big Fish. Big Fish is a fantastic movie. So Big Fish is about this son played by Billy Crudup, who goes to his father, who is he's on the brink of death, really. And his dad has always been this storyteller, but every story he's ever told to Billy Crudup's character is very much a heightened fabrication of what probably happened, or these situations may have never happened. He visits this small, perfect town, and wants to become like accepted a part of that. And that's one of the stories he meets. He enters a circus at one point with Danny DeVito. and he meets a giant. What are some of the other ones?
He meets a werewolf.
He does. Danny DeVito is a werewolf.
Yeah, you left a big part.
But yeah, there's
who plays him as a young man?
Ewan McGregor is the younger version. Albert Finney plays the older version of the father.
Albert Finney is great in this movie.
He's so good in this movie.
They're both good in this movie.
The only person that's not good in this movie is probably our second lead, Billy Cudrup. He is not very good in this movie. That is my only slight diss to the movie. But again, this one feels like Tim Burton at his most restrained, but yet Tim Burton at his biggest heart, because there's so much heart behind this movie. This was when he made this movie. Right at this, Big Fish was 2003, so his father had just passed away right before he had decided to make this movie. And you can feel that throughout the movie, that there is this father-son relationship, and it was very much a personal thing for Burton to take on this movie. It's still not, again, it's not void of Tim Burton isms. The perfect town it feels like the city in Edward Scissorhands. Again, there's a giant. Danny DeVito's playing a werewolf.
There's a witch.
There's a witch, played by Helena Bonham Carter, who
of course there is.
Yep.
I think this might be their first collaboration, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you might be right.
But yeah, and again, the last 15 minutes of this movie, man, I think Cudrup shows up for that 15 minutes, which is nice. But Albert Finney is so good. There's just the final sequence with the two in the hospital, and they're telling the entire life story, and they show up where Billy Cudrup's carrying his father like he weighs nothing, and they meet everybody that his dad has met along the way. And
Jessica Lange's in it too.
Yeah, Jessica Lange is good in this movie. So is Marion Cotillard. But then he released
my girl.
Yeah, she's good in the movie. She's not given enough scenes. I wish she was in it more, but yeah, the final sequence is fantastic. And then when you get to the eventual last end of the movie, where it's the funeral for the father, and you realize how many of the stories his dad was telling were actually true. They might have been heightened, but I think that's with any memory that, like, let's say, Blake, you're going to tell your daughter a story, you might heighten it a little bit because either your memory's been changed by telling a story so many times, or you gotta spice it up a little bit because you're telling your kid your life story.
Yeah, you
might not throw I met a werewolf in it, but and I think that's the biggest thing, and I think this is why it works so well with Burton, is it's about storytelling, and I think Burton knows how to tell a story when he shows up.
Yeah. You guys were wee pups when this came out.
Yes.
I was sort of like, this is like when I really started getting into movies. And when this movie came out, there was a huge, huge push for like Tim Burton to get like this is like his prestige movie. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, he needs to win an Oscar. This is going to come out and it's going to blow everything away. And like that sort of like transformed how I felt about it. I've only seen it once and I truly hated it. But I really want to rewatch it again because I think I was really jaded when it came out, and to me, it
still
felt
had
like
Planet of the Apes fever at that point.
That's probably true. But I will say it felt like Tim Burton was trying to get that at the same time. It felt like a Forrest Gump, like, oh, if the Mexicans can do it, I can do it too. So I really want to rewatch this someday and see how I feel about it as a father now.
Yeah, you should go into it now because I didn't feel anything like, hey, I'm trying to win something here. It was very much, this is a personal story to me, and I'm going to put my Burton whimsy in
the bathtub scene. It made me cry.
Do you like this movie, Kayla?
I love this movie. I honestly wish it was a little higher, but I already used my stab.
Yeah, you can't stab it now.
Nor would I, because it did end up on the list, which is okay because it was on mine too. So.
And like I said, everything going forward here is in the love category. Like,
yeah.
For you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I think my biggest diss of this movie is I would have. I think maybe if you would have thrown Johnny Depp in this,
it would have killed it.
I think he would have been a little better than Billy Cudrup. He's kind of not very good in the movie.
Yeah.
Albert Finney's great.
Billy Crudup is like, he's very hit and miss, but when he hits, he hits, and when he misses, he misses.
And what I think part of it is Burton isn't very good at conveying to actors what he wants, and Billy Crudup
No.
seems like a guy like he needs the director to
Yeah.
tell him what to do. And if
Yeah,
Burton's not very
yeah.
clear on it, then I think this is what we get out of it.
I can definitely see Burton being like, well, I don't care about, and I don't know this for a fact. This is just my hyperbolic statement, but like it feels like Burton is probably just like the director who's like, listen, I don't care how you play it. I need to get this shot looking good over here.
Yeah.
So we're good with this here. Oh, I guess it has to stay.
We have to. Number 7.
Stay. Number 6. Kayla, I need a pick.
I'm gonna go with Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks. Okay, go ahead with Mars. What's Mars Attacks about?
What the name explains.
You're not wrong.
It is ridiculously stupid, but it's funny at the same time. It's literally just the U.S. is fighting, aliens that like to shout "ack" the entire time.
Ack.
I would say it like the real way, but I'm gonna blow the mics if I do. But yeah, so it literally, the name states what happens is Mars Attacks, and it's just the battle of a couple families fighting the aliens, which the aliens' weakness is god-awful music, which is funny.
Yeah, so if Nickelback existed back then, they would have won the battle against
1996. I don't know. Nickelback might have been around then.
So yeah.
This movie has an incredible cast.
We recently rewatched Mars Attacks, and the thing I said in my Letterboxd review is, who gave Tim Burton this much money to make this movie? Because there are so many people. Every character in this movie is a face you know.
Yep.
Jack Nicholson is playing 2 people in this movie.
Oh my God, he's so good in both of them.
He's so good in this. First time being back with Burton since Batman. But I'm just going to go through the cast really quick, just because there's so many of them. Glenn Close, Annette Bening, Pierce Brosnan, Danny DeVito, Martin Short, Sarah Jessica Parker, Michael J. Fox, Natalie Portman, Lisa Marie, Jack Black. Who else am I missing?
Jim Brown.
I
think Pam Grier's in it.
Yes, she is. Tom Jones as himself.
It just doesn't end.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, Mars Attacks. It's a little high for me, but I do like this movie. I think it's a ton of fun. It's at the point where I think everybody in Hollywood was like, I need to work with Tim Burton. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And that's how he got everybody in this movie.
Yeah, that's what it definitely feels like. He sort of cashed in on like Batman and Batman Returns and Edward Scissorhands, and was like, all right. And especially another movie I hope gets played later, but it definitely felt like his stock had risen to the point where everyone's like, oh, yep, I got to work with this guy. I got to be in a Tim Burton movie at some point. So,
and you can probably speak to this more than either one of us. 96 is when this came out. Was Burton the guy at that point? Like everybody's jam?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, people loved the Batman movies, like that. Those were like the movies that everyone was talking about, especially the first one. But this follows Ed Wood, which was a huge critical hit for him, and a lot of people
box office bomb.
Box office bomb, but like a lot of people nowadays say that it's his best movie, like he'll never top it, etc. But so I don't know if he was the guy back then. Like Zemeckis was one that everyone was kicking around, and Spielberg had just come off of Schindler's List and Jurassic Park. But I mean, Burton was up there, I would say.
And at this point in his career, it's hit every time. Like it's been hit. He hasn't had a bad movie at this point.
Right.
And that comes.
Yeah,
I mean, some people call Mars Attacks a bad movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah,
I watched it for the first time 2 years ago when I was on a transatlantic flight. And I was on a plane, so I decided to watch it. I'd never seen it, and I didn't really care for it. But like looking back on it, as you guys explained it, I sort of feel like this is sort of the movie that Tim Burton watched as a kid and was really into and really
Yes.
just kind of decided this future. Like the special effects are really bad, but like maybe that's the point. You know, like maybe he's making this low budget all-star cast because that's what he got when he was a kid.
Yeah, this is Tim Burton making a 1950s B movie about an alien invasion. That's
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
and I don't think anyone else could have made this movie, especially in the mid 90s.
No.
No, and it wouldn't have worked. And I think that's why it works so well. Again, there's another movie that he did right before this where I think that was a big influence on him wanting to make this movie.
Right.
And yeah, I think again, even now, like we don't get B movies like this. I mean, if you look at what would be the closest, I can't think of what would be the closest thing to this now.
Yeah, I don't know.
And no one would give someone $100+ million in this cast to make a B alien invasion movie. It just wouldn't happen. So, but yeah, I'm good with Mars Attacks here at 6.
All right. Which means you're up next.
All right,
With the
so that's
fifth
gonna
pick.
clear something up for me, which is nice. So what are we at? Number 5. I'm gonna go with Tim Burton's first feature film, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
All right.
Yeah, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He gets his Pee-wee Herman. Okay, so Pee-wee Herman was a TV character at this point, and this is his first foray into feature film territory. And I don't know how this happened, but so the character of Pee-wee Herman, created by Paul Reubens, this movie written by him and Phil Hartman, they somehow came across Tim Burton, and they're like, this weirdo is the guy to make our movie. I don't know how, because at this point, Burton is kind of was the Disney guy working on some animation stuff. He had done the Frank and Weenie short, so I think that's where the connection comes in. I think Paul Reubens saw the Frank and Weenie short and then wanted to work with this guy after. I think it's something along those lines. But yeah, Pee-wee Herman, a character void of any sexuality, or I'm pretty sure he's an alien.
I was just to say possibly even human genes too.
I don't think he's a human. But basically, he is obsessed with his bike, and it is stolen. He believes it is stolen by Francis, his next door neighbor, who's his arch rival. So he sets out on this cross country quest to get his bike back, and along the way, much like any road trip movie, he meets a wide array of characters along the way. Yeah, and Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So when I watched this, was right around when this whole Corona thing started. So it was really nice to just sit and watch Pee-wee Herman for an hour and a half, being Pee-wee Herman. It was just so much fun. And again, the thing I took away, this movie is just weird. This is one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. Pee-wee makes no sense, and then I understand that's the point of it, is that it just doesn't need to make sense. Is he a man? Is he supposed to be a child? But again, he doesn't have any parents, so I don't. And then he gets to his neighbor Francis, who is kind of just like the evil version of what Pee-wee is, but he is also an adult, but does have parents, but he acts like he's a 9-year-old child. It's just a weird situation. But yeah, Tim Burton being the director of this, it's a perfect mashup of the character that Paul Reubens created, Pee-wee Herman, and then Tim Burton's wild whimsy, just put together in this blender, and it comes out and just is a perfect collaboration of this wild, crazy comedy where there's nothing else like it.
Is this the movie where Pee-wee does the tequila dance on the table?
This is the movie where he does the tequila dance.
Yeah, I used to have this on VHS, and I've maybe seen it one time. But obviously the one scene that I would always go to for some reason was the Large Marge sequence. And first, I always do that thing because I was very young when this movie came out. I think I was like 2, but my dad had it on VHS, and I'd always go to the Large Marge sequence and like play it, and then like run and hide behind my couch, and then peek out from behind my couch and watch it. And I don't know why. Maybe that's one of like the early fascinations with horror that I always had.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen this since I was super, super young.
Yeah. I think you should give it a rewatch. It's a ton of fun.
I might have to do a rewatch on his just filmography in general.
Yeah, I had a blast watching all these movies. And Pee-wee, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me is that there's no cynicism in this movie. Like he meets people that don't like him or don't and think he's strange, and I think that's where Tim Burton comes in and is like, yeah, this is my guy. I understand him because I'm a weirdo too. I think one of my favorite scenes, the tequila scene, is what sticks out to me. There is a lot of Burton stuff in this, Large Marge being probably the most Burton thing because it's the stop motion buggy eyes and mouth popping out. There's a shot where Pee-wee is with this waitress that he meets along the way, and they're inside the mouth of a dinosaur, and the shot is from inside the mouth, and they're sitting on the end, and it's just this giant teeth above and below. I'm like, that's just a Tim Burton drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the Pee-wee's Big Adventure is so much fun.
Any words on this, Kayla?
I have seen this movie once, and that was when my dad showed me when I was a kid. And I remember the Large Marge part and then the dinosaur scene. So that's all I remember of this movie. So yeah.
Where was the dinosaur scene shot at? Is it the same place as the one in The Wizard? I'm gonna look this up really quick.
I am not sure.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the one that's in the Black Hills. It's not that one, but that's what it reminded me of.
I just checked, and it is shot at the same place as The Wizard. All right.
So
well,
Pee-wee Herman.
We're in the top 4. I have some good news. My internet is back.
Hey!
So if you feel like sending me your picks, I can dramatically read them for the other person to hear.
All right, let's do it.
Which means, Kayla, it's your turn. We're the number 4 spot.
I'm feeling good about this list so far, though. So far. But we're only halfway into it.
I'm gonna kill it.
There are some big ones missing. I'm not gonna lie, and
I don't think they're missing, Blake.
Kayla, yes, they are. Kayla sent me her pick, and I'm very curious how this goes because we, as in our group chat earlier, were discussing the legitimacy of whether he directed this or not. But I'm going to read it anyway.
Oh, you can't play if it's what I'm thinking of. This is not eligible.
Okay. I will read it, and we will decide as a group whether it is.
And I have told you this.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Kayla is playing A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Which I do think counts because he did help create the stuff.
I am looking at his directing credits.
He did not direct it. Henry Selick is the director.
It is not listed as one of his movies. All right. I immediately have a replacement.
I come prepared.
Well, you didn't with number 8. Okay. Kayla has selected at number 4. The infamous, the wildly popular Beetlejuice.
You're not going to stab that?
Go ahead.
I thought for sure I was going to lose that one.
Well, I think Casey's going to let you explain first why it needs to be this high, and then we'll see if it gets stabbed off the list.
I love this movie. I love this movie because it has got, the dumb humor. It's also so Tim Burton, like ridiculously Tim Burton. But I think my favorite part about this is that it is the 2 ghosts trying to keep their house. The little girl who's assisting, she's not really little though, but she's assisting because she hates her family in general, and is just trying to get her family just to leave her alone and go away.
Who plays the girl?
Winona.
There you go.
Winona Ryder.
That's my weak spot, Blake. I don't know actors or actresses. I'm bad with
Tim
that.
Burton's female muse before Helena Bonham Carter showed up.
Yep. He's got 3 of them, right? He's got 3 muses throughout his career, and Winona Ryder is one of them.
Well, I guess she's the one before Lisa Marie showed up.
Lisa Marie.
I would say there's 4 then. 4 female Tim Burton muses.
There's 5.
Winona, Lisa Marie, Helena Bonham Carter, and then now Miss Peregrine, Eva Green.
Eva Green.
Who's the other one? Me. You. So to Beetlejuice, number 4.
Yeah, because it doesn't deserve to be higher, but doesn't deserve to be lower.
Ooh. I know a lot of people who would put this at number 1. What do you show? You're stabbing this.
Stab this, yes.
Okay, Casey's stabbing, which means Kayla gets to pick another one. And Casey, your stab is gone now too.
That's fine.
Honestly, I'm okay with that because I knew where you were gonna put this one. So, but I don't think I came prepared to find another one.
In case we don't talk about Beetlejuice again, I have actually never seen it.
What?
Yes.
Blake.
I have never seen Beetlejuice. I always fall asleep watching it. I've never finished it. So, which is why you are doing this and not me.
Yeah. All right. What do you got? Send Blake your other one. And Blake, we will be talking about Beetlejuice again.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I got that out now as opposed to not when it's in the number 1 spot.
Should I do a movie that's just going to piss Casey off?
This is up to you. I mean,
this is all down to you. Whatever you play now sticks. So,
yeah.
And like I told, there is 4, 5 towards the end of my list that haven't been played that I think would be fine here at number 4.
Then okay, I'm gonna send it to you, Blake. Go ahead.
We're missing my favorite one, and I'm starting to get worried that it's not gonna get played at all.
I don't like how this list is going.
Okay.
Anymore. I changed my mind.
This one will stick, and it is this is a good one. In the number 4 spot, Kayla is playing Sleepy Hollow.
I love this movie. I think this is one that I kept telling you to watch, and you never did, and then eventually you finally did. And I don't think you regret it. Oh! He doesn't show attitude, but you have to know him to know he's given attitude.
Talk about why you like this movie, Kayla. I want to hear what you really enjoy about it.
So I have always loved Sleepy Hollow in general, just like the backstory of like Ichabod Crane and all that. And then for this one to be, the Tim Burton, which is the dark and gloomy, and I don't know, it was actually kind of like bloody too,
it's very bloody.
Yeah, which is not Tim Burton, but that's also why I love this movie a lot, is because it's very bloody. I love the decapitation scenes.
Heads will be flying.
But then there's also, it's kind of cultish too, which is why I like this one too, because I love, cult movies.
Casey, I'm very curious to hear. I want you to explain the grin on your face.
I had this on my personal, it would be like 11 on my personal one. This movie should be better than it is. I think of all of the macabre folklore tales, I think Sleepy Hollow is my favorite ever. I grew up reading the Headless Horseman story. I would rent the book from the library so many times. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I watched the Disney the Ichabod Crane short. Like every Halloween it was on Disney. I would watch it all the time then. And that's the best stuff about this movie is the Headless Horseman. Christopher Walken gets to play the Headless Horseman. With his weird vampire teeth. And he's hamming it up like only Walken can.
It's not vampire teeth though.
They look like weird
shark teeth.
Sharp vampire weirdo
it's shark
Walken teeth.
It's an entire mouth. Not just two.
Yeah, and I think that's the best stuff in this movie. The Headless Horseman, he looks great. I think this is, out of Tim Burton's yeah, I would say this is Tim Burton's best action movie. The action sequences are really good. It kind of reminded me of the final act of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the chases on the carts.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the chases with the Headless Horseman felt like in this for me. But again, where this is where the Johnny Depp stuff comes in for me. This early in their collabs, I think Johnny Depp is poorly miscast in this movie. Where Johnny Depp is a good-looking dude, and he doesn't want to admit he's a good-looking dude. But he always has to say, "Look, I'm the weirdo. I'm misunderstood. I'm the weirdo that no one should like." And I'm like, dude, shut up. You're a Hot Topic model, and you're a good-looking dude. You were voted sexiest man alive at one point. And so him playing Ichabod Crane, who is the nerdiest dude ever, just is poor miscasting for this movie. And the way Burton is playing it is like he is the nerdy, the nerdy, awkward guy, and that's just not Johnny Depp. But and him with Christina Ricci, they have zero chemistry. She should be perfect in a Tim Burton movie because she is a Tim Burton drawing, just the way Christina Ricci looks. But yeah, and again, I would like to see those two work together at some point because I think she would fit in that Burton verse very well. Yeah, and I think that's the thing I took away is that I like all the outside stuff, but the heart of the movie, which is Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci, it just didn't work for me. And that's why it was so low for me on my personal list.
I get it.
But I like the movie. I still like the movie, though.
It's one of my favorite Burton movies. Probably like top 2 or 3 for me. I think it's a lot of fun. I think this movie has the most decapitations in any movie ever made. It has a
lot of decapitations.
Yeah.
That's what I told you about before you watched it.
I think there's a great scene in a church, right? Where like they lock up and then the horseman's like riding around. There's so many. The sequence where they find out where the horseman comes from, where the horse jumps into the tree is fantastic and it gets swallowed up like a reverse birth. I think there's a lot of great stuff in this.
And again, the cast in this movie is he gets everybody in this.
Yeah. All right, some controversy, but it's staying. Which means we're at number 3.
Yeah, this is where I'm worried because the series that I had mentioned earlier might not even make our list at this point if this is the way this is going.
I don't think. Okay, all right.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to play it here because otherwise it's just not going to make the list. And I think this is probably his best film.
I await your message, Casey.
Okay, this is probably his best film in terms of what he's going for, and critically. I'm just buying time until I can type things out. But yeah, this is then number 3. I do think it should be a little higher.
But you don't want to play it. So you have the number 1 spot, and you think it should be higher.
But I have a number 1. I have like this. That's the number 1.
Okay.
But this one has to be on this list. Otherwise, it's just an incomplete list.
All right. Well, at number 3, Casey has played the movie that I brought up earlier, Ed Wood.
Ed Wood. I don't think Kayla liked this movie, but I think that goes to our different sensibilities when we walk into a movie, because a movie about making a movie is more of my thing than it is yours. So this is the story of Ed Wood, who is notorious as the worst director in film history, creating some of the worst films ever, including Plan 9 from Outer Space and Glenn or Glenda. But basically what this movie is about is his early film career of Ed Wood, who is played by Johnny Depp. And then in this film, he works on a backlot, but he's never really taken seriously as a director or anything like that. But one day he comes across a forgotten legend of the film industry, Bela Lugosi, played by the great Martin Landau. He befriends him. They become good buddies. And that's how Ed gets to fund some of his movies. He gets to have the name Bela Lugosi attached to them. He goes on to make Glenn or Glenda as his first film. But again, what works so well in Ed Wood is there is the Tim Burton whimsy in this movie. Johnny Depp feels like he is a cartoon character in this movie. But I think that works really well because it is grounded because of Martin Landau's Bela Lugosi, where it is dealing with Lugosi's drug addiction. He's nearing the end of his career and subsequently the end of his life as well. And I think that's where the heart of the movie truly is in Lugosi's character. And again, like I had mentioned with Burton and Vincent Price, that's kind of their situation. Burton met Vincent Price. People forgot about him. He put him in his movies up until his, I think Edward is one of his final, if not his final appearances in film, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that's why this movie here, Ed Wood, felt so personal for Burton, because he was the weirdo filmmaker and befriended a Hollywood legend that people had forgotten about. And again, this leads right into Mars Attacks. That's the movie he was making. He was making his version of an Ed Wood movie. The cast in this movie is so fantastic. Bill Murray maybe gives one of my favorite Bill Murray line deliveries ever, is when in this movie they all have to get baptized because this church is giving them money to make Plan 9 from outer space. But they all the cast and crew have to get baptized beforehand. And it gets to Bill Murray, who's in the pool about to get baptized, and they're like, do you believe in Jesus Christ as your savior? Sure. Just the way Bill Murray delivers it, it's so perfect. Like at that point, I think Burton's like, respond how you would respond, Bill. Yeah, he is perfect in the small scenes that he is in. All the casting is really, really, really good in this movie. Lisa Marie as I almost said Elvira. Vampira is really good. Yeah, there's just so much I loved about this movie. I never heard Bela Lugosi curse like that, and so it's cool to see Martin Landau going crazy old man Bela Lugosi. Boris Karloff is a cocksucker is maybe my favorite line in this movie. It's so funny.
Yeah, Martin Landau won an Oscar for this movie.
Yeah, he did. Much to Samuel L. Jackson's dismay, he did.
Yeah, that was the infamous loss to Martin Landau.
Yeah, but I think he is the best. I think he delivers probably the best performance in any Tim Burton movie.
I don't think I disagree with you on that. I will say there is
the best Johnny Depp in a Burton movie too.
Yeah, he's good. He's great.
I don't know what he's been. I don't.
I have a favorite Johnny Depp.
That one's not making the list. So.
It better, or else, we're gonna have tables turned over here. So,
we're gonna have throat slit.
Kayla, I take it you don't like this movie.
You know, honestly, the movie itself isn't bad by any means. I just don't like Johnny Depp in it.
Sure.
And his teeth.
But the teeth make sense in the movie. Once it's revealed why he is doing that.
Yes, but still, I just
can't
get over it.
That he has fake teeth because he lost them in Vietnam.
It's just the fact that he grimaces.
Or WW2, World War II, yeah. And again, I didn't even bring up the fact that Ed Wood was a cross-dresser. And that's a big plot of this movie in the guy's life. And again, a movie without really any real cynicism to it. Because
it's a very like airy, floaty movie. Like it's very whimsical.
Yeah, I think the real only villain really is Sarah Jessica Parker's character. But she's not like trying to stop them from doing anything. She just said, you're all a bunch of weirdos and your movies suck. And they're like, yeah, so we're making movies we want to make.
All right. Yeah. Well,
Ed Wood.
Kayla's already sent me her number 2, which means she wants you to shut up about Ed Wood. But yes, Ed Wood I think is one of the better Tim Burton movies. I've got another one I've only watched once. I need to rewatch it. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and read off number 2, and that is Corpse Bride.
Sorry, I fangirl over this movie. This movie is probably by far my favorite stop motion movie. I love the relationship between Victor and Emily. And then at the same time, what is the other one's name? I can't remember her name.
I don't know.
Oh my god. Brain fart. My bad. But Victor and Emily get set up in an arranged marriage, and it first starts off as one of, they aren't really interested in it, but as they get to know each other, they start to really like each other a lot more. And Victor doesn't want to screw it up, so he, tries to practice outside of the church of practicing their vows. And by accident, Victor proposes to a skeleton, who I'm spacing on her name right now, if anybody can help me out.
Is it Victoria?
It's just the Corpse Bride.
Is it really?
Is what she's called.
She has a legit name.
I don't know. That's all she's credited in the credits.
For real?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that makes me sad. But yeah, so he proposes to a corpse, which you learn to find out that she was murdered by, was going to be her husband, but he killed her because he thought she had money. And it's pretty much, Victor is learning to respect her, but then he still also has feelings for Emily, so he's trying to make it back to Emily, but then also deals with the fact of, he has to deal with this corpse. And then the whole underworld pretty much comes to assist him, because Emily almost makes the mistake of marrying, spoiler alert, the guy who killed the corpse. I like this movie a lot because it is visually pleasing significantly. There's a couple scenes towards the end that, even as a stop motion, you wouldn't think you could relate, but you do end up relating to it, and it makes me tear up every time I watch it.
Yeah, the stop motion in this is it's better than in Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a lot smoother, cleaner animation.
The colors are brilliant too, for the underworld.
Again, these are based on Tim Burton drawings.
Yeah,
they look like Tim Burton weirdos. Like I said, this is my favorite of his stop motion group of pictures, including I would throw in the Tim Burton, because there is so much of his creativity in A Nightmare Before Christmas. That's kind of part of that, and James and the Giant Peach, Frankenweenie. But I think Corpse Bride is his best. Johnny Depp again he's good in the movie. We don't get to see his weirdo face on the screen.
This is my favorite Johnny Depp.
Yeah, he's good in this. Burton's wife at the time, Helena Bonham Carter, is the corpse. And again, the cast in this movie, he gets everybody again. Christopher Lee, Richard E. Grant, Michael Gough, Danny Elfman gets to have a great musical number as Bone Jangles. I like
Albert Finney.
Albert Finney's in this one too. There is a huge cast in this movie. It has the Tim Burton macabre whimsy in this as well, and I think that's something people forget when they think of Tim Burton as a director, is that he is dark, but he's not gloomy dark. It's like dark, but I'm also whimsical, and I'm gonna break out and there's a musical number or have a comedy sequence.
Or a talking worm behind your head.
You've kind of said it a bunch of times tonight already, but like there's a certain like whimsy to, a certain lack of cynicism to his movies, where it shows that he really loves these characters and loves these worlds he creates. He's not poking fun at them, and I think it's because for the most part it is him, and I think that's what makes his work it's like a step higher than what other people would do.
And again, I think at heart, Tim Burton is always an animator. That's the way he thinks of things, even when he's doing a live action presentation, and that's what he's still thinking as an animator first and foremost. And so having him do animation just makes complete sense. Because this was, he did this one before Frankenweenie, and Frankenweenie again is a fun comedy more than anything. It's the story of Frankenstein, and Burton's remade Frankenstein a million times now. I don't know why he just doesn't make his version of I guess he has made his version of Frankenstein, but this I think Corpse Bride is definitely his best. Again, a great Burton Depp collaboration. And number 2, I'm fine with. That's again, this was included in my top 7 of I love these movies. So, yeah.
All right, which means we're at number 1. And Casey, I've already put it in for you.
All right.
I knew this was going to be your number 1, by the way. Because
Casey did not.
I do.
Casey did not message me a text. He actually sent me an animated GIF of the movie. It is, of course, Planet of the Apes. I'm just kidding. It's Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. He would cry. He would cry if that was number 1.
Yeah. I'd drive my car off a bridge.
You would.
Just like in Beetlejuice. So Beetlejuice, 1988, Tim Burton doing what I would call the first live-action Tim Burton movie. Because Pee-wee is still the Pee Wee Herman show. There's Burton-isms in it, but this is a Burton movie right here. Based on a script that he did not write himself. He was presented this after the success of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I believe it was called Ghost House was the first title for it. But it eventually then morphed into Beetlejuice. One of the working titles that Burton presented to them, and I just love this story, so I'm going to tell it. When he got the title, is just called Ghost House. He presented an alternate title called Scared Sheetless as a joke. And WB liked it. Luckily, they just changed it to Beetlejuice. But this is about a married couple that has become recently deceased after being in a car accident. They are then trapped inside the house that they live in. This new family moves to the house, and along with this family is a dad who just wants to relax, played by Jeffrey Jones, who he was in a lot of Tim Burton stuff, and then got in trouble.
Got a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. What he got in trouble for makes Ferris Bueller's Day Off a lot weirder to watch now. But so the dad just wants to hang out and watch birds. The wife, played by Catherine O'Hara, she's an interior designer, I think is what her job is. But she wants to redo the entire house. And then there is the daughter, Lydia, played by Winona Ryder, who's a female Tim Burton.
I don't think she's an interior designer.
Who, the mom?
I think she's an artist.
Or artist. She wants to redo the house.
I'm pretty sure.
But she wants to redo the house and make it something presentable to all her fancy friends. So basically we figure out that the daughter Lydia can see this family that used to live there, played by Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, get to play these, and they're a lot of fun. This is one of my favorite Baldwin performances. Gina Davis is really fun in this movie too. But then, of course, they want to live in their house. They don't want these people that they don't know in their house. So they try to find a way in the afterlife to rid these people. They try scaring them themselves, but they figure out they're not very good at it. But basically, they come upon an advertisement on their television where the great Michael Keaton shows up as the character of Beetlejuice, all cowboyed up and telling them to call the number 1-800-BEETLEJUICE, I think is what it is. But if they say his name 3 times, he will appear to them, and basically they can hire him to scare the people out. And Beetlejuice is the wild card in this movie. He is the title character, but again, he's not the main focus of it. The main focus is really on the original family that lived there, Baldwin and Gina Davis, and their relationship with the Lydia character. But again, when you have the sprinkling of Beetlejuice throughout the movie, it's so much fun. Keaton is just a ball of fire and energy in this movie. He is firing on all cylinders. Every line he delivers instantly becomes iconic. Again, the Burtonisms are ever present here because it is the Lydia character is Burton. He's dealing with afterlife stuff, but it's never dark and gloomy stuff. It's always very funny. Like there's the the football team that crash and dies, and they don't realize that they're dead, and they keep calling the lady who's in charge of the afterlife coach. There's the guy with the shrunken head, of course, then Beetlejuice, and this for me, what
You missed one of the iconics too.
what
The lady who's cut in half.
Yeah, there is a ton. The lady who's cut in half, and Beetlejuice puts his hand on her legs.
Yeah, he's flirting with her.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers her.
Beetlejuice is a weirdo. This is my favorite Burton film. It's probably, besides some movies that did not make the list, this is the one I've seen the most. And every time I watch it, I just have so much fun, just as the previous time I've watched it. Again, we've not talked about any of the soundtracks yet. We definitely should. The Danny Elfman score is amazing in this movie. Instantly sets the tone from when you see the opening shot above the city, just boom, 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 boom. Just the Burton or the Elfman score kicks in, and then again the soundtracks throughout it, the Harry Belafonte songs, and I love Beetlejuice. Number one, easily. Yeah. So Blake, you have never seen Beetlejuice?
I've never seen it all the way through. So back when like kids could watch scary things in the 80s, this was like a staple at my daycare when I was like 7, 8 years old, and so I never like got to finish it because I would always fall asleep during it, and this is one of those 80s movies that I just missed out on as a kid. I've never seen it all the way through.
Yeah,
and I'm at the point where I don't think I'll ever try and watch it, but maybe I will. I don't know.
I don't. It's a thing. Maybe if you didn't grow up with it, you might not connect with it. I don't know.
Right.
But I think everything really, really works in this movie.
My
favorite scene though in this movie is the table sequence
with the Iko Iko song.
Yes. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring up that that's the one sequence I always think about when this movie is mentioned, is the scene where they're all dancing, and again, like another iconic Tim Burton sequence. Well, I'm going to read through this list one more time, and we can talk about the movie that is egregiously not on this list. At number 8 is Edward Scissorhands. Number 7 is Big Fish. Number 6 is Mars Attacks. 5 is Pee-wee's Big Adventure. 4 is Sleepy Hollow. 3 is Ed Wood. 2 is The Corpse Bride. And number 1 is Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Oh my
guys,
God, it's Michael Keaton.
Guys, do we not like Sweeney Todd? What's up here?
I think it's fine.
Sweeney Todd is
I have
far and away my favorite Tim Burton movie.
So, Sweeney Todd is on my number 10. It's right around Sleepy Hollow for me. I think it's maybe the most mature Tim Burton movie that he's made. But I think Johnny Depp is playing a character, not a character.
Take his little friends out.
What?
Shots fired.
Yeah, and again, I'm not a Johnny Depp fan. That's part of the reason.
Yeah, neither am I. I don't like Johnny Depp either, but I was, and so I'm not a big musical fan. I did not know going into this that the entire movie was sung. And I don't like Johnny Depp, and I was just floored by how much I was entranced by this movie. I loved the deeply poetic and yet very sad ending of the movie, where he makes the ultimate move. I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it, but like he does something that is deeply depressing and ironic and sad. And I loved how gloriously bloody this movie was. I loved how fake the movie was in terms of like its blood. You know, like it's very red and you know it's like paint spilling everywhere. I love the sets. I love the music. I love the costumes. I love everything about this movie. I'm very sad that it's not on this list, but
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out to me the most in Sweeney Todd was how under all the surface, how funny it was.
sure,
Because
yeah,
every time he dumps a body down the hatch, I started busting out laughing. I'm
yeah,
like, that's just funny. That's just, I
yeah.
think that's a Tim Burton thing.
For me, it felt like this was what Burton was working towards his entire career. You know, like it's kind of like I see a lot of Burton movies as misfires, but like really interesting misfires. And it felt like all the good stuff that he had done in all his movies, like this is it all works for me in Sweeney Todd. But
Yeah, we have some two bigger, I think.
yeah, I want to
ones
know
on here.
why a couple of movies didn't make this list
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, the ones obviously his two Batman movies.
Yes.
89 Batman is my number 2 on my personal list. I just love that movie so much, but again, that one is I'm okay with it not making the list because I think we have a pretty eclectic Burton list. Yeah. But Batman not being on the list, it sucks, but it's the way it goes. I love both of his Batmans. Batman Returns is the most Tim Burton of the two because it's just so it shows Batman or Burton just doesn't care about the character of Batman at all, and he just wants to mess with the weirdo villains like the Penguin and Catwoman. But Batman Returns has some of my favorite shots in any film. One of my favorites is Keaton is just as Bruce Wayne is literally just sitting in the Wayne mansion by himself with all the lights on like a weirdo, and the Batman light shines through the window, and then he gets up and like he's perked up, like this excites him being Batman. I'm like, that defines the character of Batman more than any other shot I think in any movie.
Yeah. I think what happened was Burton got Batman, and there's more like control over him with Batman. And when it became like this monster hit, and they said, "Hey, do you want to come back?" I think he was basically just like, "I get full control, or I don't come back."
Yes.
And they basically said, "Okay, you know, like you go do you," which is why Batman Returns is such a just wild ride in terms of, you know, the production design is nuts. The villains are very outlandish, only outdone by the sequels because those movies just go even further with the campness, right, Casey? The campiness of the sequel. Yeah.
Sure.
But Batman, the first Batman, I don't think I've seen all the way through. It's another movie I fall asleep during. I don't know what it is, but I actually own Batman Returns, and my wife and I watched it about 3 or 4 months ago, and I liked it a lot more than I remember. I'm surprised.
That was the Batman movie I grew up with. Was Batman Returns.
Me too.
We didn't own 89 Batman, or I think we had Batman Forever, but we didn't have Batman and Robin. But I watched Batman Returns on repeat. Yeah, that was definitely my first introduction to Burton. Was
Yep, me too.
And again, it's crazy to think Burton got to make a Batman movie where Batman's the fourth lead in the movie.
Yeah, well, I mean that makes sense. He's way more interested in the nightmarish stuff than he is the tortured soul. So
yeah, what was the other ones that you had that you were surprised we didn't play?
I gotta look back at his filmography here. Those might be it. Let's see here. Yeah, those are it. Those 3. I sort of thought I didn't expect Sweeney Todd to be number 1, but I expected like 7 or 8. But that's the way it goes.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
All right.
I like this list, though. I think we have.
I think it's
a good list.
other than a Batman movie not being on here.
Yeah.
I think this is very indicative of what Tim Burton is and what he represents and what his movies represent.
Yeah, and again, going through this entire filmography where I was like, man, Tim Burton has a lot of stinkers. He's probably more miss than hit. And going through this, I'm like, no, he has a lot more hits than misses. But when he misses, he misses hard. Like he's riffing hard.
And we've talked about this before, but I really think if Burton is not invested in the like the story, I don't think he's going to show up.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's done in recent years. Is someone else presents him an idea? Yeah, sure, I'll make it.
Yeah,
whatever.
I will say I really enjoyed his Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie. I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I was going to. But I understand the hatred of that movie.
Yeah, I hate that movie. It's one of my least favorite movies ever. That or Alice in Wonderland. I think those two are vying for my worst Tim Burton.
Okay, I have not seen Alice in Wonderland, and I don't plan to.
Not good.
Don't waste your time.
All right. Any other final words on this?
No, I think my last final words would be Tim Burton, please make something good and original again.
Yeah, it'd be great if he kind of just like, because he's got to be close to 70 years old by now, right?
He's at least 60 something right now. I'll look it up quick, but
58, so he is 62. He's got enough in the tank. He can do a few more.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to wrap this up unless you guys have something else you want to say.
No, that is it.
All right. Well, Kayla and Casey, thank you for doing this so I didn't have to. I hope your marriage survives this list. You can find Killer Countdown and other Backlot shows on all of your favorite podcasting exports, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, and Google. Casey, once again, thanks for this.
Yes, thank you for hosting.
All right. Until next time, spook you later.